Alright, I'm live. Let's do it. Tonight I want to talk about secret societies. Uh, Mainly the Freemasons and like the Knights of Columbus, the Lions Club, VFW, all those types of places. I keep seeing it everywhere. And I was at Kansas City the other day. I'm in Topeka now, and in Kansas City I saw some crazy stuff. But today, tops it. It was just the one of the craziest things I've ever gotten ever happened today when I was walking through a park. Uh, yeah, I'll start with that. I'll start with the Kansas City stuff. So I'm in Kansas City the other day, and yo, what's up, man? And I'm going through. I'm saying it like right around here. I think I was right there or something like that. Right near the Union Station where apparently they had the NFL draft there. Uh, and I kind of picked there because I had to mail my IRS document from I did it in like February to like if you in I'll show you. If you're in New Jersey and you have to do an old tax return, you have to send it to Kansas City, Missouri. See? New Jersey, Department of Treasury, Internal Revenue Service, Kansas City, New Jersey. Kansas City, Missouri. All right, so I was kind of like just messing around, like, oh, I want to see because I haven't gotten the refund yet on the from the IRS. So I was kind of messing around. I just wanted to go like pop in, see how they're doing, uh, see if everything's up to snuff in the IRS. But they're in this building, this Union Station, and check out Union Station. I got pictures. So I'm in Union Station. So I'm going out for like a walk outside the hotel, and I'm following on my GPS where this IRS place is, and it's this place, this like super magnificent building, and the IRS has a little tiny shop inside of it. So it has these crazy ceilings that reminded me of Grand Central Station in New York. I mean, it's called Union Station. I didn't see any trains though. I don't know. Maybe it's underground. I kind of did some exploring. They had this huge hallway. Like this is massive, and there was no one in it. All the doors are locked on the sides, and I just did a little stroll through it. I finally find the IRS building, and it's closed. Of course, it's closed. I mean, their room. They were in like a closet in this building, and it had this on the front. Like, why can't you take photos inside the IRS building? Is there a reason for that? What are they trying to hide? And then right outside that door is this pyramid looking thing, and a dinosaur statue, of course. Then across the street, safety culture. It's just a sign sitting there. And I took some more photos of the inside. See down at the bottom here, they have I guess the NFL draft was in Kansas City. I don't know. And they held it here. And then right outside of it is this place, this monument. It's a weird looking monument. I mean, it's not weird, but it's actually pretty on the nose. But yeah, it's a war memorial or something like that. But it's the giant dick. That's basically what it is. And you get closer, and underneath it is a Liberty woman, like the Statue of Liberty. So you can't really tell if it's a guy or a girl, and she's holding a sword and a torch. I think it's a torch. And there's a giant dick behind her. Yeah, so I get closer, and the first line it has here is, "Behold a pale horse." That's Bill Cooper, right? And it has the four horsemen of the apocalypse right there. And then later, Lady Liberty, I guess, spread eagle with the wings, looking kind of manly. And then, by the way, liberty doesn't mean freedom. Liberty is your time off when you're in the Navy. Like you get like in the Army, it was called leave. You get leave time. Where you get to leave the base and go. You do whatever you want. For like you're free to do what you want for like a certain amount of time. But you have to like put in for it. Put in for leave. Well, it's called that same exact concept is called liberty in the Navy. Apparently, I don't know. Navy people are gay. Um, but yeah, and then keep going, taking pictures, blah blah. Uh, get to this. These were both locked. I checked. No one was going in them. These two pillars on both sides of the giant column. War remains, memory hall, and then they had two sphinx with their covering their eyes. Like in Egypt, the sphinx, that's the sphinx, but it's covering it. It's like covering its eyes. What the hell is that? And then out front, it has like the pool, probably supposed to be meant to be like a vagina because it's upside, and then like the reflection of the column is in. You get it. And then across the street is the IRS building, right where the they're having sex. It's magic. They're doing freaking magic. It's like I don't even know. I don't even know if they're aware of it. I don't think they are. I don't know. It's weird. There's got to be some of them that are aware of it, what they're doing, right? Uh, but here, we get past this. Now today, I get to this is the sink that I had that was insane. Let me make sure. Can you guys see these? Ah, uh, well, anyway, in Topeka, I like they had this cool little park down the street, and they had this. It was like the Victorian Garden, and it says is dedicated to those visitors who know and understand the true language of flowers. It's an odd statement, right? Well, when I go for this walk, I have my cigarettes, and I'm smoking a cigarette, and all these birds start coming up to me, like just hopping near me on the grass, and I just got the feeling to myself, I should put out the cigarette when I go for this walk before I go for this walk. And I was like, nah, I'm not gonna put it out. And then more birds start showing up and like flying past me, and I just got this really like deep feeling that I can just toss the cigarette. So I toss the cigarette, I put it out, and I keep walking and watch. This is. I hope to God you can see this because I keep going, and I started this happened like if you can see my mouse, I put out the cigarette like there, and I walked around like this, and I was right here, and then the first thing I see on this bridge is, "Hey you, hello." Oh my God, what the fuck? And then the words, "Thank you for not smoking," is on the fucking bridge. Hey you, hello. Thank you for not smoking. And I just freaking put out the freaking cigarette. That's insane. It happened right before I saw that sign. How? Fucking how? That's wild. And it's even like kind of in my handwriting. I have chicken scratch handwriting. Or it's a kid that wrote it. That's freaking wild though, right? There's no, like, that's astronomical chance. Hey you. Hello? Like, it was talking to me personally. Yeah, yeah, I'm talking to you, idiot. And then, thanks for not smoking. Why would someone write that on a bridge? That's freaking wild. And that was the name of the stream. Yeah, those are the. Well, that actually, those are just the one pictures. I wanted to talk about other places that I found I've been taking pictures at too. You got. I went to this Battle of Island Mound because I thought it was a burial mound for Indians, but it wasn't. It was just a battle, from Confederacy or something. Where apparently they used actually Fort Africa. What? The black troops, I haven't read this actually. The black troops commandeered the farmstead of local Southern sympathizers Enoch and Christiania. Foot, Footmen fortified the yard with fence rails and christened it Fort Africa. What? It's kind of weird. It smells off a little bit, but yeah, well, it was just like a little park. It wasn't actually a burial mound apparently, but it was a battle site for a battle where they apparently used fire. They used prairie fire to like corner someone. I don't know. But it did have this four corner thing going on, which I keep seeing this pop up. The law of four. Four quadrant representation of electricity. Then there's the four. I was watching Jay Dreamers. He had Shutter Island. He was doing his review, and the note the guy gets, Leonardo DiCaprio, says the law of four. Remember the law of four, or something like that. What's the law of four? And it's the law of the four quadrant representation of electricity. Magnetism, piezoelectricity, stuff I've been talking about. Maybe, I don't know. All right. This is the other town I was at. I talked about it a little bit. It was Pittsburgh. This town was also really weird. They had these gorillas everywhere. Have you ever heard of Pittsburgh State University? But from Kansas, not Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? No, right? And they're the gorillas. The whole town has these gorillas everywhere that are in red and white. I mean, red and yellow. Here's where it starts, actually. I was going to start from here. I think I actually showed this photo on the actual thing, but it says, strong legs run that weak legs may walk. And I just took that photo because I just saw that saying. I thought it was a cool saying. I thought this was kind of cool, like little thing. And then I didn't realize that it's the Shriners. That's another Mason. That's another secret society or whatever. The Shriners. Mirza Temple. And then I'm walking through the town and I'm seeing this uh, symbol. And if you know anything about pizza, that's the symbol. It's always popping up, right? And then the town felt like it was talking to me. And like, I'm noticing a lot more, actually. I think I don't know. It's fucking weird. And like, what is this? Why does it say the fox is popping? Phase 1, Phase 2. What is that in reference to? What are they talking about? I don't know. And then I was looking at like the little. Have you ever gone and looked at like the memorials in towns? They all say some weird shit. Like this one had. This guy's name is Raphael Purgatory, and it's the whole thing's about how it's a mining town. They used to be, yeah, immigrant park, and how the people from Europe came here to Pittsburgh, Kansas, to mine. Europe Hotel. It sounds like that's like their cover for some kind of history. And I like I said, I keep seeing stuff that It's like speaking to me. Free Man, Possibility Junction, and then Purgatorio. What? Then all these people sound like fake people, or some of them are real, some of them aren't. Rondelli, West Chicopee. I don't know. It was just like weird. Like go read memorials at like various like parks and stuff. They sometimes they leave little hints, but they don't. They probably don't even know that they're leaving the hints. That's what's interesting about this. Like the thank you for not smoking. Why would anyone write that? That's insane. All right, I'm not gonna go through all of them. Then niche. That's kind of sounds like niche, or Nietzsche, whatever. The philosopher kind of sounds like that, right? Vision Center. Yeah, secret societies. So obviously the Masons or the Knights of Columbus or someone like that made this thing. Made there's pillars and all that kind of stuff. So I started going into how like all these buildings. There's all these weird buildings. Like I've been noticing. Like I was at the Sheraton in Kansas City. I was noticing how like I mean I've noticed this before, but it was just a big building, so it kind of reminded me um, how easy it would be to hide stuff in cities in buildings. It would be ridiculously easy. Like you could just have like most buildings don't have a 13th floor. Like why not? What does that mean? Is, is there actually a 13th floor? But they just it's like you have to get there through a certain doorway that you need a key for. You know what I mean? Like that would be so easy to do. And then you make the 13th floor like a voodoo thing, so people don't actually even go look for it. And you need like a certain key to get in. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that happens a lot more than people think. And they have all these abandoned buildings everywhere in cities, and no one ever goes into them. Like in that Union Station, there are all kinds of doors that just went out. Who knows where? I don't know. It just like there's massive buildings. I feel like there's an ulterior motive to it. Ever since I don't know. It's just weird, and it reminded me of the Hunter X Hunter, the Illuminati people in Hunter X Hunter. They're called the Phantom Troop, and like the actual rulers of the underworld. And this is Lucifer, this guy here. Well, they meet up. They rarely ever meet up in person, but when they do it in like abandoned buildings. And there's so many abandoned buildings. Like, how would you know? Like, they're the type of people that would go into the doors. You know what I mean? Like, they don't give a shit. I mean, Jay Dreamers he actually even talked about this. He said he used to go to a fancy resort and just start opening doors to like employees only doors and shit. He said he went one time he went into a door and it was like the chef's the kitchen, and he started like he said he started just like picking up food and taking a bite. Said, "Hey, everyone's doing a good job," like pretending like he knew what he's done, like he was one of some big shot or something. But you could do that at any of these places. And then if anyone asks you, you say, "Oh, I was just looking for a bathroom," or something like that. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about. Nah, I didn't talk about that. And it also reminds me of I'm watching some Marvel shit, and Doctor Strange has the Sanctum Sanctorum SS. It's a like a Victorian looking house in the city that has magic. It's like magical, and there's all kinds of buildings like this, like the actual IRS building that I actually went and looked it up because it's not that was only like one section of it, the Union Station part that I found. The actual building is here, and it's right next to that other one. It's right next to the Union Station. See that as the pillar? It's this building. But like that looks like kind of unassuming, kind of like official, kind of like it's like the perfect place to put something like that. And like if you think about Men in Black, where they have that building that Jay has to go into, and that's where the Men in Black are. It's just a random building in New York City. Um, New York City building. Like, what's what's up with that? Just weird looking building like that, right? It just looks like you wouldn't even notice it. There's tons of buildings like that, right? And like Kansas City, the first picture I had in Kansas City is they have this building, the Power and Light building. Power and Light is the name of the building. Power and Light, and that looks like the Ghostbusters building. I mean, like I feel like there's some underlying thing going on. I don't know. And it loads for 10 seconds. I'm just gonna keep going because I'm recording it, so I'll just post the recording afterwards. Um, but yeah, where was I? And Doctor Strange has all these weird artifacts as well, like Dragon Fang. It's a sword made of dragon's fang. Sounds kind of familiar, right? Yeah, here we go. I was just gonna go through the wikis for these guys and Freemasons. When I was in Nevada, Kansas, that was the other one I want to look at. Nevada, Kansas. They have some crazy building. No, Nevada, Missouri. Okay. Building. It's this bad boy. It's like a cathedral looking thing. This guy. Look at that thing. And it's the courthouse. It's all kind of buildings like this throughout all of America. Every town has something like this. Um, and I was listening to. I was like trying to. I was driving. I wanted something to listen to, so I just like while I was driving, I had to pick something quick, and the first thing that popped up on my feed was a Freemason lodge meeting. Just happened to pop up, and the guys seemed kind of cool. They seemed kind of cool, actually. They're just like good dudes that just like were in a club. That's it. I never thought that Freemasons were like evil. That never sat well with me. I mean, they do like weird shit. I'm sure there's some of them that are evil. There might be some lodge that's evil. But it always just reminded me of the Knights of Columbus or the Lions Club, like or the American Legion. A bunch of old vets go and like I don't know, play bingo. That's what it felt like to me. Freemasons, just like a club, a men's club. Uh, but then I hear stuff about like on 4chan about like I mean it's not a good source, but it's like my favorite 4chan story. It's where they were in Antarctica and they found these like this underground city and it had all these like symbols on the walls and shit. I don't know. It's definitely my favorite 4chan story. I can pull it up later. Yes, I'll pull it up now because I actually was looking into Antarctica. 4chan. Yeah, this is it. My best friend of 50 years. I'll just read the whole thing. It's actually super interesting, even though it could be fake, but whatever. Okay, guys, post as you will. My knowledge of Antarctica comes from my best friend of 50 years now. Though we grew up together, we grew up in very different conditions. He was part of a rich family who owned one of the largest factories in my hometown. I was the opposite, just a naive kid playing around town when we first met. We were best friends then, and I still consider him best friend now. Despite him traveling around the world, going to Princeton, doing whatever he wanted. Point is, he's a 31st Mason and has lived a life way beyond I can imagine. Okay, enough with the backstory. This story comes from him, and it hasn't changed over 5 years. Okay. Masons have been in charge of controlling and releasing information to the public at reasonable levels. This is actually really relevant right now, in my opinion. This starts with religion, and first I rolled my eyes, but as he talked more, it sent shivers up and down my spine. So the Masons have been in charge of controlling and releasing information to the public at reasonable levels. That is what he told me the majority of his Masonic duty entails. And the first piece of media they altered was the Bible. A major part of the Bible was cut from the Revelations, revealing where the Antichrist and the beast would emerge from. He said the section they cut out was the most important. Uh, then he gets trips, and if you don't know what trips are, um, he's talking about the Freemasons. And look what his it's when you get more than one of the same number in your post number, because the post is like sequential and it's always happening, so you can't like pick them. But he had 333, and his push is about Freemasons. That means they say Keck is listening or whatever. If God is listening. Whatever. Okay, anyway. So so the revelation started that the last Antichrist would be the total opposite of Jesus, spreading disease from old age, which turned most humans into zombies or some weird shit, he said. Anyways, he said the Antichrist was trapped in a frozen wasteland with magnificent buildings and was being held captive by kilometers of ice. He doesn't know exactly if this is an individual. Even the Masons think it is a virus of some sort. This guy made this post in 2016 for reference. Uh, Virus. I hear about a virus recently. The Bible didn't specifically state, but he said that this is where the saying comes from. When hell freezes over, hell is already frozen. Once hell is defrozen, then real hell will be unleashed. He told me these temples in Antarctica have been explored by a group of people in control in the government. The same group is doing crowd control methods all around the world, have been digging, hoping to find this Antichrist buried in Antarctica, because some believe it is the key to immortality. For another small section of the Bible, did refer to the everlasting life, Garden of Eden, being hidden right beside this Antichrist. And in order to bring about the last days, it had to happen anyways. So teams have been digging, blowing up shit, covering up, stopping visits, though he said you can visit the outside portions of Antarctica only. Those where are we at here? Those who know will ever get to see those temples, and constantly destroying any information leaked from this expedition. He told me several years ago, some Russian thought he found a portion of the immortality and injected himself with an ancient virus they discovered in a vial in one of the temples. He even cringed when talking to this story and said the guy instantly turned blue and froze over. Everyone ran out, and when they returned, his body was gone. Now they only work in those giant radioactive suits. He said they had to replace him with a body double to avoid drawing notice or some shit in his real life. He went to great detail about how big and complicated those temples. He calls it a big giant city expanding across the entire continent. He said from one temple where you enter, there are hundreds of rooms, hallways, traps, all types of symbols and shit on the walls, large books of ancient texts no one can read, vials upon vials of random liquids which they can't even remotely identify. But he said most contain living organisms in these vials, as they protected behind large traps. Shit from Indiana Jones. He said they've already lost over 500 people exploring, and now they are using robots. Shit is so complicated. You have to move blocks to open doors, solve riddles. I don't know. He said it's truly giant mousetrap. So some other stuff he told me. Most movies and books are representing what they think will happen when it is discovered, like Transformers with the frozen bot, forget his name, all these zombie movies, all this other shit in the media. And if you think about it, I know this, as I'm reading this, I'm realizing that this sounds a little more ridiculous than I remember. But is it though? I mean, the Masons run all the movies, right? Every movie has all kinds of symbolism like this. Uh, Jay Dreamers does a great job doing that breakdowns of all these movies. But they are like Game of Thrones, the blue White Walkers, right? He said here's the next thing he says. Game of Thrones, one of the only shows I watched, so I can't believe what he said, shows what they think will happen when they discover this Antichrist. They aren't sure it is, but the White Walkers are meant to get normies ready to fight against the possible zombie outbreak. And why they think it is soon, a quote kept repeating from the Bible was, after the war of wars and after the winter of winters is when everything would happen. You think the war of wars was from World War II up until now? non-stop fighting across the earth. And the winter of winters refers to the ice of Antarctica decreasing and opening up parts of the island still frozen. Another crazy fact he said they know is there will be Jesus or Christ right beside the Antichrist, and you will get to choose when it first discovered. You think it will be two vials beside each other, and you will have to drink one. Vial? What's that thing in? Is that a vial? They take it from a vial, right? They take the syringe, they stick it in a vial, they pull it out, and they put it in your skin. You got to choose, right? That was the choice. Another crazy fact he said they know is there will be okay, yeah. It's truly a cluster F of arguments because everyone wants to be the first to keep discovering, but they are in disagreement of what to do with all these random vials they keep finding. He said each other has random living organisms inside of it, and it's bacteria and viruses we have never seen before. Shit which makes apples rot in minutes and monkeys explode in diarrhea and shaking death. But the coolest thing he said was there is a frozen giant skeleton in golden armor in one of the temples holding the skull of a giant reptile, which looks to be over 30 feet tall, the giant, and the reptile head is roughly the size of a van. And I'm listening to this archivist guy, and he's talking about giant humans. I don't know about 30 feet tall, but he's talking about 10 feet tall humans. One dude was a 10 feet tall human that was petrified with two ocelots, which I think are like seal-looking things. With one of the ocelots had a human skull in its mouth, and the other one had like a bone in its mouth. And the guy was wearing silver and gold armor, and he was 10 feet tall. That kind of sounds freaking familiar. It kind of sounds like this. And that archivist guy talks about how they found petrified remains of a 50-foot horse in California. So this is not. I know it sounds crazy, but I don't think it. Like, truth is stranger than fiction. That's all I'm gonna say. He mentioned some Jewish TV show on TV called the 100. I haven't seen it, but he said that the leader takes a chip or drinks something which gives them the recollection of all the knowledge previously and lets them control the others with their minds. That is what they think is in the immortality vial. So the media and shit they keep releasing is just them theorizing everything and making entertainment of it. It's funny because it's the truth in a way, he said, and then the public just eats it up. Everything has like a shade of truth to it. All these movies. A long binge he did tell me everything they found so far. It must have been hours he was talking, and lots of shit just went through me because it was so unbelievable. Whatever. Aside from the traps, the walls are covered in symbols and images. Shit which is supposedly happened, shit which hasn't happened, and shit just no one knows what to think about. He said these images, though drawn in some ink which looks like it's printed on a piece of paper, has predicted many events recently, and the Illuminati card game were actually pictures on the walls of these temples. He said they look so lifelike, even though being drawn, they had to release them in a game because these events were coming true over time, and they keep doing which is scary and crazy. For them, it's just another piece of the media which flies over the heads of the population, but for them, it's a giant timeline. He said there's tons of shit hidden in media which they find and subtly hide, but it doesn't matter to anyone because we just keep consuming shit and not caring. Well, people are watching now. Nor would we care unless we saw it in real life. I was amazed when he mentioned this game because I actually owned it and we used to play it for hours. Ton of the cards which happen and cards which they think will happen soon. He said each and every card is a picture from the wall and nothing is made up. So which are the ones that he thinks are going to happen next? He said the card game is a giant timeline leading up to the end or discovery of Antichrist. Every time they open a new room or different section in the temple, it is littered with more images. He mentioned a shit ton of other games, movies, shows, stuff that I can't remember all the names. They aren't sure, But they constantly hide these hints in TV. Even for them, it's like a giant mess of information they are constantly working on. He said the pictures are one thing. There are hundreds of books and scripts which contain shit no one understands. He says the Voynich manuscript. I think that's utter nonsense. Voynich manuscript. I think it's just like a joke. No one knows what it means or anything, but they think it was ancient methods for making medicine or other stuff no one actually knows. He mentioned like 911 was in the temples several times, and they did attempt to prevent it. But somehow there was a group in the government which made it happen because of interest. They even hinted on The Simpsons and several other shows it was coming. But the public can't make connections or believe anything. He says the more shit they release, the less likely the majority of the population believes. Instead, they focus on working, shitting, eating, making money. That's not true. So what you're saying is Conan the Barbarian is a documentary. Fire and Ice is a documentary. The ASX is a documentary. Rhapsody is a documentary. Lord of the Rings is a documentary. Nirvana is a documentary. And Odin was right. This is awesome. And yeah, that's all correct, I think. This is what he said. He said, this was in 2016, late 2016. So I think it was like, this was like exactly when I was just starting to like wake up, whatever. He said the connection between how much shit from the temples they put in the media, the more likely it is to be successful. And even the symbols, which are littered across all media, Illuminati symbols, come from these temples and other temples from the world. But in these temples, they appear hundreds of times in random order like a language. So they just throw it out to the media and we buy it up. I actually do think that's real. Like when I was listening to that Freemason thing, it seemed like they don't actually know what they're doing. They're just trying to help. It's like they're doing it unconsciously. I don't even know. It's weird. They don't even realize that they're doing it, I think. They have no idea whether these stories happened or will happen either. These ones just appear as one giant black... Okay, here we go. Another interesting thing he said was you cannot look through the walls. So normally they could use imaging and radar and other technologies to map out temples. These ones just appear as one giant black blimp with all technology they attempt to use. And I know how that could work. Radium. When I was in the Army, when I went to West Point, they gave us these compasses. It was a military compass, and it had a little piece of green, like glow in the dark green. It was radium. And the reason for that, I used to think is, so you can read the compass at night. No, because it glows in the dark. No, that's retarded. No, the reason the radium's there is because normally, like, whenever a compass is near electronics or like a magnet or something like that, the compass will be off slightly. Like if you put your phone, you do your phone compass and you put it near your computer, and then you put it on the ground, the one on the ground will have the more accurate reading, because near the computer, the electrical Wi-Fi and shit messes with the compass. But this radium is probably put there to block that. So these walls are probably made of radium. I don't know. I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but I don't know. It's more interesting to me than going through Freemason Wikipedia. Okay, here we go. These ones just appear as the giant black blimp with all technology they attempt to use. They are literally mice in a mousetrap, making their way through this maze, piecing together lots of info and hoping to get lucky. Amazing part, he said, of the temple is how complicated it is constructed. From the 500 people who died, 400 are still missing. So the puzzles and shit you do to open doors actually open up traps where you fall into something or some shit. And those 400 have disappeared into the temple somewhere, and not a single one has been found yet. They fear they have become infected with the zombie virus, for their symbols showing death all over the temple. But they fear once they reach a certain level, they will find all those lost in the weird state, dead or infected or something. Also, there is no noise in the temple. When you talk, it is very flat tone, and there's no outside noises. It's like a dead silence, which makes it really effing scary to work in. Most of those who are deciphering will not enter the temples under any circumstances. That's why they send the third worlders to go in and try to open shit up. Like a man holding a dog by its tail. It's almost the full length of him, but the skull is huge. He said all and yeah, I know that sounds nuts. I'm going to find dragon bones. That 120-foot long dragon. And then you got the one he talked about today, the archivist in Texas. They found a whale. They said it was a whale, but it was like the size of a house in width. And then, no, it's not deleting your comments. I can see. And then it was like a mile long. That's how big the whale was. And they said they couldn't tell if it was actually a whale. Some people thought it was a lizard, like a dragon. He said all the most important stuff has been removed. They kept the fluff, which keeps people calm and going to church. Everything in the Bible is true, with many parts missing. He actually, yeah, I actually kind of, yeah, I agree with that. But you got to look at the who edited it. Who are the editors? He actually mentioned that Noah's Ark was based on Antarctica, and they expect to find some evidence of it once the snow melts. A part he mentioned was that the Antichrist was at war with God, blah, 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 and that is why he's frozen. But he said God isn't what we think he is. He's not a man, but a living organism capable of hive mind-like thoughts which can see the future. So God, the spirit mind hive, warned Noah of the flood ice age coming, but didn't warn the Antichrist. Thank you for not smoking. I don't know because it went over my head as he was talking, but he said these two have been at war for a long time. Not actually at war. And humans are just the vessels which they use. That is why Christ and the Antichrist will be located near each other. He said the Matrix told the story as a blue pill, red pill. The Shriners are depicted as the Red Lodge, and the Masons are depicted as the Blue Lodge. Red pill, blue pill. And then you got boxing rings. Mike Tyson talks about this. You got the red Republican, blue Democrat. Boxing ring, you got red versus blue. Blue team, red team. All right. One will be the Antichrist and bring about that. The other will be life. Though he admitted they have zero clues as to which is which and where they are in the temples. I mean, that tells you. That should tell you. The Masons don't really know anything. There is a giant power struggle in those working on the temples because many are offering to be test dummies, thinking they will get immortality, but many are scared of what will come about. I don't know, Anne. He said it's like the body is the temple. I'm trying to recall word for word what he told me, and I'm doing my best. He said it's like the body is the temple or some shit. He said you are what you eat, like you consume a virus, and it can control you without you knowing. That is what he was trying to tell me. Christ and the Antichrist were. And that is why Christ actually translates to body. So I don't think it does, actually. So Antichrist is antibody. Oh, maybe. I don't know. I've never actually looked it up. It doesn't sound right, though. But antibody? Something which goes against us. I don't have the answers you see, just some information of what's going on. That's actually kind of prophetic, this whole thing. With the virus that came about, where you got to choose between taking the thing from the vial or not. But yeah, like that's always been my favorite 4chan story about Freemasons in Antarctica. I think the Bible's talking about America. That's my opinion right now. Where are we at here? Oh yeah, when I was looking up that's for another stream. Anyway, so I was looking in the Antarctica stuff, and I'm going through the files to find what it actually says and how someone can actually enter Antarctica legally, get permission, because it says you need permission to go. So how do you get permission? That's what I'm looking at. Is how do you get permission to go there? What are the steps you have to take? And there's all this documents, and it's really interesting because it refers to itself as observers. If the observer does this, like I've never seen a document use the word observer like that, and I think it's like they're talking about you, the observer inside your head, or not. You mean like your spirit is the observer, or the silent observer, and it feels like they're talking about that, but like on a meta level, it's kind of interesting. Right now, I was looking through the because I figured maybe the unpublished sources for this will have stuff like United Nations and outer space. Outer space would be outside of Antarctica, out of our space, right? The law of the sea. They actually wrote that down. The law of the sea. Where do you see them ever say that? They never say that. It's always an unwritten law. That's probably why it's not published. The law of the sea. And then I'm just going through this for like a couple seconds. I found. Have you ever heard of the Bureau of Intelligence and Research? Huh? INR? I've never heard of them. Not once. But apparently they're important enough that they get to unpublish all their documents inside the Antarctica Treaty. Um, yeah, that's more like nonsense. Actually, I kind of want to see what SS is. NSC Records of Action for years by the Executive Secretariat. That sounds familiar for some reason. Anyway, that's where I wanted to go with that. Then you get into there was one other thing I wanted to check out, but apparently the stream's looking bad, so I might just call it. I feel like I'm missing something I wanted to talk about. But I'll end it here. I think the next stream I'll try to do it a lot better, and I'll put up try to make a PowerPoint for Hunter x Hunter. I'm finally just gonna do it. I keep putting it off, and I'm just gonna break down like every 10 episodes or something like that, or every 10 chapters, and just do a stream on it because that always comes back to that. I feel like, and if the Masons are in charge of putting information out to the public in pieces, and I've had a theory for a while now that the real CIA or the good guys are working out of Japan, and they're putting it in these anime and these manga comics in Japan, and they're putting it out to the youth, the consciousness. And Hunter x Hunter has the most of that. That and One Piece have the most of that. Especially the One Piece map is like perfect match to our map. It's crazy. Anyway, so I'll start doing that more into Hunter x Hunter, just because that's what I find interesting. I don't really find secret societies interesting. I think they don't really know anything, but they're not bad. Most of them aren't bad. I don't think. Anyway, I'm gonna cut it off there. Hope you enjoyed it. Enjoyed the show.